Hey, I'm Dr. Stephen Bradley, your friendly neighborhood anesthesiologist. I'm here to talk about military medicine and what life is like as an anesthesiologist practicing on active duty. So a day in my life, what is a typical day? It varies. I'll speak a little bit for anesthesia and then a little bit for some of the other specialties that I work with and interact with. So as an anesthesiologist, currently, my day-to-day practice is pretty straightforward. I work at a tertiary care center, one of the larger military hospitals on the East Coast. You can probably guess without too much effort. So as an anesthesiologist, I am on staff there. I do have an academic appointment at the Uniformed Services University of Health Sciences. I'm an assistant professor of anesthesiology. At our hospital, we have a residency program in anesthesiology. We also have a student nurse anesthetist program as well. Every day, or the night before rather, I'll check the schedule for the operating rooms and see what cases I have and what room I'm scheduled in for the next day. If I'm working with the resident physician will call me the night before and we'll discuss the cases. If I'm working by myself, I'll review the cases the night before, look at the patients, their comorbidities, and the type of procedure they're going to have, and then develop a plan for anesthesia. I'll reach out to the surgical team if there's anything that we need to discuss prior to going to the OR the next day. The day of, I get to the hospital usually about 6:45 or 7. So at 7 o'clock every morning in the operating rooms, we meet for a group huddle where we'll discuss all the cases for the day, planned in the room. The surgeons will be present, the OR nursing staff as well as the anesthesia staff. And we'll discuss to make sure there's no surprises that present later on during the day. After that, I'll go meet the patient in pre-op, consent them for anesthesia. They'll have their nerve block done if they're getting a nerve block for perioperative pain management. The OR start times are 7:30. We'll go back and then do cases the rest of the day. There's not quite a schedule, and it's not shift work, if you will. We generally just work until we're relieved. At my hospital currently, the staffing model is set up that we have some folks that come in the afternoon. They'll get there and then you may get relieved around 3 or 4. Usually we don't work too late into the evening. If you're on call, there is a call shift starts at 4 p.m. and you'll work until 7 a.m. the next day. Then you have a post-call day, which is pretty nice. You don't work terribly hard. That's a typical day. So as an anesthesiologist, I'll work in the ORs sometimes. There is a pre-op evaluation clinic that we staff. There is the acute pain service, which is an anesthesiologist and a resident physician. And we do nerve blocks all day. That's a full shift where we're working from 6:30 in the morning to usually 4 p.m. before we can get out of there. There's labor and delivery. So I may spend a day up there doing epidurals, spinals for C-sections, all of the above. And we do actually have a fair amount of pediatrics, and we're able to partake in that. I am credentialed to go down to 1 month of age to provide anesthesia for patients down to 1 month of age. We do have some pediatric anesthesiologists on staff. Currently, we're not doing cardiac cases, so no big open heart procedures, and we don't do transplants either. That's a typical day for an anesthesiologist in the military. It's not too dissimilar from a surgeon or internist. From day to day, you just go in and practice whatever normal schedule you have. The surgeons will have a clinic day or an OR day, their block time, and they'll operate just like they would on the outside. Things change because as part of the military, there are different taskers or deployments and assignments that come down from on high and they have to be filled. So that means you go away for a month or 3 months or 6 months to whatever deployment, whether it's on a ship, whether it's in the desert somewhere, whether it's to a different base somewhere in the United States. And then you come back and you go back to work. Depending on how long the deployments are, it gives you a little bit of dwell time where you're protected after deploying. I think the cutoffs are about 6 months or so. If you're gone for 6 months, there's a period of time where you're not supposed to deploy, so it gets you a nice little breather, kind of protects you for 6 months to a year or so, so you're not just getting deployed constantly. There's all types of different deployments for the ships and where does anesthesia work in the military. The carriers, there's large ships that hold fighter jets and just thousands of people. Each of those goes out with a general surgeon and a certified registered nurse anesthetist. There's a couple other physicians on board, usually a general medical officer, which is kind of a general practitioner or two, and a senior medical officer who is a higher ranking, probably internist, or it could be a pediatrician. Anybody can fill that role, really. Other places we go is with the Marine Corps units. There's Marine Corps battalions that when they go to war, they need a full surgical service. So they'll have surgeons, anesthesiologists, and other general practice type physicians. There's some units with special operations. There's also, depending on what's going on overseas, folks can get deployed to different places in the desert. This is mostly for the Navy. I'm not sure how the Army, Air Force, those other services allocate their deployments, but that's how it kind of works for us. So personally, I came in 2018. I deployed, or I went temporarily to Gitmo, to Cuba for a month in the spring. I worked down there. I came back. There was a deployment on the USNS Comfort hospital ship. It was for 6 months. So I went out on that. I came back a couple months later was when COVID broke out. And I was initially scheduled to go, had about a 2-week heads up that the Comfort was going to go to New York to provide care up there. So I got ready to plan that mission. Then I got pulled off of that because then they were sending out field hospitals, and I got slotted to a field hospital, then got pulled off of that. Ended up just going back to my hospital and working during COVID until about June when I got assigned to a group that was going overseas. So then I had to go do a month of training, and I'm an alternate for that group. So otherwise, I just work at my normal hospital, and it is what it is. I do anesthesia, so it's a good situation, and it definitely offers some different aspects of practice that I would otherwise not likely have. So please feel free to forward any questions you have about life in the military as a physician. Be happy to answer those questions. You can go to my website, StephenBradleyMD.com. There's a link there where you can ask an anesthesiologist that works for these questions as well. Shoot me an email and I'll answer these questions here in the form of a video. Hit like, hit subscribe so you'll be aware of whenever new videos and new content is posted. I think I've got a whole mix of stuff. I'll be doing some stuff about medical ethics. There's some music videos as I dabble in music. And then just some stuff about basic anesthesiology that is helpful for patients and family members of patients to know. Thanks, and we'll catch you next time. Dr. Stephen Bradley, your friendly neighborhood anesthesiologist.